Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Top Coin. If you've got a jar of old coins lying around or maybe a dusty piggy bank from your childhood, you might want to take a second look. Because today, we're diving deep into a coin that could be sitting right under your nose, the 1965 United States quarter dollar. This seemingly ordinary piece of change has an extraordinary story, and believe it or not, some of these quarters are worth far more than 25 cents. In fact, some rare versions can be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Yeah, you heard that right. So, don't go anywhere, because this video is packed with fascinating history, shocking facts, and tips on how to find out if you're holding a small fortune in the palm of your hand. Let's uncover the mystery behind the 1965 quarter, its value, its history, and why collectors are going crazy for it today. Let's rewind the clock to the mid-1960s. It was a time of great change in America. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum. The Vietnam War was in full swing. The Beatles were dominating the airwaves. And in the middle of all that, the United States Mint made a massive decision that would forever alter the course of American coinage. Before 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper. That gave them intrinsic value beyond just their face value. But as the price of silver began to climb, it became more expensive to produce quarters than the coins were actually worth. People started hoarding them, melting them down, and selling the silver. It was chaos in the coin world. So in 1965, the U.S. Mint did something radical. They stopped making quarters out of silver entirely. That year marked the birth of the clad coin, a quarter made with a copper core and a nickel outer layer. These new coins had no silver content and were much cheaper to produce. That decision, while practical, also created a fascinating moment in numismatic history. Because of this transition, 1965 quarters became a hot topic among collectors. Some transitional errors were made. Some silver coins from 1964 were struck with 1965 dates, and others were struck on the wrong planchets. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, let's talk about what makes these quarters so special. The 1965 quarter, at first glance, looks just like any regular quarter. It features the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse. That's the front of the coin, designed by John Flanagan. The reverse showcases the iconic bald eagle, wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches underneath, a symbol of peace and strength. But the magic isn't in the design. It's in the details. A 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, compared to 6.25 grams for the silver quarters that came before it. If you have a scale at home and a sharp eye, you might be able to tell the difference. Another giveaway is the edge of the coin. Pre-1965 silver quarters have a solid silver edge, while post-1965 clad quarters have a copper-colored stripe running along the side. It's subtle, but it makes all the difference. Now let's talk about the real thrill, rare errors, and special versions of the 1965 quarter. And trust me, this is where things get exciting. One of the most coveted errors is the 1965 quarter that was accidentally struck on a 90% silver planchet. These were supposed to be phased out by then, but due to leftover blanks or minting errors, a few silver versions with the 1965 date slipped through the cracks. If you find one of these, you could be looking at a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on its condition. And then there are off-metal strikes, coins that were struck on the wrong metal blanks, like a dime or foreign coin blank. These are ultra-rare but highly valuable. One example is a 1965 quarter struck on a silver dime planchet. Because the dimensions are slightly off, they're easy to miss unless you're really paying attention. Other valuable errors include double dies, off-center strikes, barrage strikes, and clipped planchets. Any of these can drastically increase the value of your coin. So let's get down to the money. What's a 1965 quarter really worth in today's market? A standard 1965 quarter in circulated condition, meaning it's been used for years and shows signs of wear, is generally worth its face value of 25 cents. Maybe a tiny bit more if it's in nice shape. But even these coins have a current melt value of about $0.05852119 based on the copper and nickel content. Not enough to retire on, but hey, it's still more than a quarter. However, uncirculated 1965 quarters, those that have never been used and remain in pristine, mint state, can sell for $10 to $25, sometimes more. If the coin is graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC and receives a high grade like MS65 or higher, its value climbs dramatically. But here's the kicker. If you have a 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet, or one with a rare mint error, you're looking at potentially hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In one famous case, a 1965 silver quarter sold for over $7,000 at auction. That's a life-changing find from a coin you could have picked up and changed at the gas station. Today, we're diving into the world of numismatics. That's the study and collection of coins, and we've got an exciting topic that might surprise you. We're going to talk about a common-looking but surprisingly interesting coin, the 1971 United States quarter dollar. You might think it's just pocket change, but wait until you hear about its history, hidden value, errors, and how this seemingly ordinary coin could be worth way more than face value, with some coins fetching a premium price in today's market. So, buckle up, because we're about to uncover the secrets of the 1971 quarter that could be sitting in your drawer or your piggy bank right now. Let's start with a bit of history. The 1971 quarter is part of the Washington Quarter series, which began all the way back in 1932. This series was created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The obverse of the coin features the familiar profile of George Washington, facing left. This portrait was originally designed by John Flanagan, and it remained mostly unchanged for decades. On the reverse side, you'll find a proud bald eagle with its wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows and flanked by two olive branches, symbolizing both strength and peace. This classic design remained in use until the state quarters program began in 1999. Now here's where it gets interesting. The 1971 quarter doesn't contain any silver. That's right. It was made after the U.S. Mint switched from 90% silver coins to a copper-nickel-clad composition starting in 1965. So, every 1971 quarter is made of a copper core and a nickel outer layer. That might make it sound like it's not worth anything more than 25 cents, right? But hang on, because we're just getting started. In 1971, quarters were struck at two main U.S. Mint facilities, Philadelphia and Denver. Coins from the Philadelphia Mint do not have a mint mark, while the ones from the Denver Mint carry a small D on the obverse, just to the right of Washington's hair tie. Here's the mintage breakdown. Philadelphia Mint struck over 258 million quarters. Denver Mint struck about 258 million as well. So yes, these coins were minted in large numbers, making them common in circulation. But like all collectibles, it's not just about how many were made. It's about condition, rarity, errors, and demand. All right, let's talk value. A regular, well-worn 1971 quarter you pull from circulation is typically worth its face value, 25 cents. But in uncirculated or mint state condition, the value can increase significantly. Coins graded MS 65, that's mint state 65, or higher by grading services like PCGS or NGC can sell for $5 to $25 or more, depending on the buyer and market interest. Coins graded MS 67 or better are much rarer, and that's where we start seeing big numbers. One of the highest recorded sales for a 1971 quarter in pristine condition was over $300. Yes, for a single quarter, and that was just because of its flawless preservation and grading. But that's not the whole story. What really gets collectors excited is error coins. Some 1971 quarters left the mint with minting mistakes, and these errors can dramatically increase a coin's value. Here are a few types to look out for. Double die obverse. If Washington's features or the inscriptions like "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" appear doubled, you could be looking at a double die. These are highly collectible and can fetch $100 or more depending on clarity and condition. Off-center strike. If part of the design is missing because the coin was struck off-center, it becomes more valuable. A quarter that's 10 to 20% off-center could be worth $50 to $150 or more. Clip planchet. These errors happen when a part of the coin's edge is missing due to an error during the blank cutting process. These can be worth $30 to $100 depending on how dramatic the clip is. Wrong planchet. In extremely rare cases, a 1971 quarter might be struck on the wrong metal blank, like a dime or even a foreign coin. If authenticated, these can bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Now let's talk numbers. Today's market value for the 1971 quarter. A regular circulated quarter is still worth, well, about 25 cents. But here's where it gets interesting. As of right now, the melt value, that is, the value of the metal itself, of the copper and nickel in a 1971 quarter is around $0.058521119. or just under 6 cents. So no, the metal alone isn't valuable, but the collector value is where the money is. If you've got one in top condition or with a rare error, you could be holding on to something worth anywhere from a few dollars to a few $100s, and in very rare cases, much more. eBay auctions, coin shows, and online dealers report steady interest in high-grade and error 1971 quarters. Coins graded MS-66 or higher are especially sought after by serious collectors trying to complete their Washington quarter set.so. How can you tell if your 1971 quarter is worth more than face value? Here's a quick checklist. Is it in mint condition? Look for sharp details, no scratches, and original luster. Does it have a mint mark? Check for the small d for Denver. Are there any visible errors like doubling, off-center strikes, or clipped edges? Consider getting it graded if you think it's a high-quality or error coin. You can use a 10x magnifying glass. Compare your coin to known examples online, or take it to a professional coin dealer for an expert opinion. So, the next time you go through your change jar, keep your eyes peeled for a 1971 quarter. It might not look special at first glance, but it could be a hidden gem. Whether it's in mint condition, has a rare error, or is just a piece of American history, the 1971 quarter is a fascinating reminder that even the most ordinary things can carry extraordinary stories. If you learned something new today, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with your friends. Who knows, someone you know might have a valuable coin just sitting around. Drop a comment below if you've got a 1971 quarter or another cool coin story to share. I love reading your finds. Until next time, happy collecting and keep checking that pocket change. Today's episode is going to blow your mind, especially if you've got a jar full of old change sitting around. We're taking a closer look at the 1974 United States $quarter coin. That's right, the good old 25-cent piece minted nearly 5 decades ago. But this isn't just about pocket change. This little coin could be worth more than you think. In fact, some collectors and sellers are valuing this coin at shockingly high prices, in some cases far beyond its face value. We're talking about the history, the key features to look for, the hidden minting details, and yes, its current market value, which is lighting up collectors' forums and auctions around the country. Stick around, because you might just have a treasure hiding in plain sight. So grab your magnifying glass, pull out your coin collection, and let's jump into the incredible story of the 1974 quarter. To understand why this coin might be valuable, we've got to go back in time a little, all the way to 1974. The year was a turning point in American culture and politics. The Watergate scandal was unfolding, gasoline was under $1, and the average home cost about $35,000. But in the world of coinage, the U.S. Mint was in full production, pumping out millions of quarters for everyday use. The quarter dollar has long been one of the most circulated coins in the United States. The version minted in 1974 carries the iconic image of George Washington on the obverse, or front, which has been used since 1932 to honor the first president of the United States. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, this image became a classic representation of American coinage. On the reverse, we see the heraldic eagle, wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows with 2 olive branches beneath, a symbol of strength and peace. This design was used from 1932 to 1998, until the U.S. Mint launched the 50-state quarters program. Now, the year 1974 is particularly interesting for a few reasons. While it may seem like just another year in the Washington quarter series, what makes it stand out are some of the rare variations and the sheer curiosity around its production leading up to the nation's bicentennial celebrations in 1976. Let's talk about mintage. How many 1974 quarters were made and where they came from? The U.S. Mint struck these coins at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia minted approximately 801 million quarters in 1974. These coins don't have a mint mark, so if you flip one over and see no letter below the eagle, it's from Philly. Denver produced over 353 million quarters, and you'll see a little D mint mark if yours is from there. San Francisco struck around 2.6 million of these coins. But here's the twist. These were proof coins, made specifically for collectors. You'll know you have one if it has a deep, mirror-like finish and the letter S under the eagle. So overall, more than 1 billion 1974 quarters were minted. Sounds like a lot, right? So why would one be worth more than a quarter today? Because not all coins are created equal. This is where things get exciting. Most 1974 quarters you find in circulation today are only worth their face value. But there are a few key factors that could make your 1974 quarter worth way more than 25 cents. We're talking dollars, sometimes even hundreds or thousands. Let's start with condition. If you've got a 1974 quarter in uncirculated or mint state condition, it's automatically more valuable. Coins that have never been used in daily transactions, but still shine with their original luster and have zero scratches or wear, these are worth a premium to collectors. Then there are errors and varieties, and this is where the jackpot comes in. Some 1974 quarters have been discovered with double die errors. That means during the minting process, the coin was struck more than once by the die, leading to doubled images or letters. You might see doubling in the word Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 1974 itself. If you spot that, hold on tight. These can sell for hundreds of dollars depending on the sharpness and condition of the doubling. There's also the elusive off-metal strikes. Rumors and rare examples suggest that some 1974 quarters were mistakenly struck on foreign planchets or even on nickel planchets instead of copper-nickel clad, resulting in odd weights or colors. These are incredibly rare and can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. Let's not forget proof coins from San Francisco. While most proof coins are common, a flawless example graded PR70, the highest possible grade, can still command a premium. If you've got one of those in the original packaging or slab by a grading service like PCGS or NGC, you're in luck. Now let's get to the big question. What is a 1974 quarter worth right now? If your quarter is a circulated example from Philadelphia or Denver with wear and tear, it's probably worth around its face value, 25 cents. But if it's in near-perfect condition, say MS65 or higher, it could be worth between $5 and $20. Proof coins from San Francisco can go from $3 to over $50 depending on condition, double die errors, off-metal strikes, or unique minting flaws. Now we're talking real money. These coins can bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their rarity and the demand among collectors. As of today, according to various collector pricing guides and online markets, a verified rare 1974 quarter can be listed for over $585.2119, depending on the coin's type, condition, and rarity. Yes, you heard that right. Over $500 for a single quarter. That's more than 2,000 times its face value. Imagine digging through your coin jar and pulling out a single piece that pays for a new smartphone or a weekend vacation. Now, you might be wondering, how can I find out if my quarter is one of the valuable ones? First, give it a good look under natural light, or even better, a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for mint marks, unusual colors, or anything that looks doubled or off-center. Check the date. If it says 1974 and has a strong, sharp strike, it might be a candidate for grading. If you think your coin could be rare or valuable, consider sending it to a professional grading company. PCGS, NGC, or Anax can authenticate and grade your coin, which can significantly increase its market value. Also, keep an eye on online auctions like eBay or Heritage Auctions to see what similar coins are selling for. Market value changes depending on demand, rarity, and collector interest, so staying up to date helps you make informed decisions. To wrap it up, the 1974 quarter might just be sitting in your drawer or your piggy bank, quietly waiting to be discovered. While most are common, a select few are far from ordinary. If you've got a pristine example, an unusual error, or a proof in top condition, you could be holding a coin worth a whole lot more than 25 cents. It's amazing how history, art, and a little bit of luck can turn a coin into a collectible treasure. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like button, subscribe for more coin collecting secrets, and drop a comment if you've ever found a rare coin in your change. Who knows, maybe your story will be featured in our next video. And remember, the next time you get change, take a second look. That quarter could be worth way more than you think. Today, we're about to dive deep into the world of the 1989 United States quarter dollar, a small piece of change that could be hiding a treasure trove of history, value, and potential worth in your pocket or coin jar right now. Grab a seat, turn up the volume, and stay with us because this is not just another quarter. This is the story of the 1989 quarter, and you're going to be amazed by what this coin could be worth today. Let's rewind the clock. The year is 1989. George H.W. Bush is sworn in as the 41st President of the United States. The Berlin Wall is still standing, though not for long. Nintendo is taking over homes with the Game Boy, and the Cold War is nearing its end. Amid all this change, the US Mint is busy striking millions of quarters with the classic and iconic design we all know, but few truly appreciate. This quarter, minted in 1989, is part of the Washington Quarter series, which began back in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The obverse, or front side, features the familiar profile of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. It's the same face millions have seen, held, and spent over decades. But what makes the 1989 quarter stand out? Why is it being talked about in collector circles? And how can a coin with a face value of just 25 cents potentially be worth hundreds, even thousands of times more? Let's find out. The 1989 quarter is made from a clad composition. That means it's a sandwich of copper and nickel, with a pure copper core and outer layers of copper-nickel alloy. It weighs in at 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters, and features reeded edges, those little grooves that line the side. There were no silver versions of the regular issue in 1989, so if you have one that looks silver, it's likely clad, but don't walk away just yet. Even clad quarters from this year can hold hidden value. This coin was struck in 3 main locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins bear no mint mark, Denver coins carry a D, and San Francisco proofs have an S. The real magic lies not just in where it was made, but how it was made, and what might have gone right or terribly wrong. Now we get to the fun part, the treasure hunt. Because not all 1989 quarters are created equal. Some have errors. Some are in pristine condition. Some are hiding right under your nose with a value far beyond what you'd expect. Some 1989 quarters show signs of doubling, especially in the lettering like "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." This occurs when the coin is struck twice with a slight misalignment, creating a doubled image. If you spot this, you're holding a gem. Some double die errors can fetch hundreds of dollars. A coin that was not properly aligned during the striking process can be off-center. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the value, especially if the date is still fully visible. Some off-center errors have sold for $100 to $300 or more. Sometimes, a worn die can leave cracks or blobs on the coin's surface. These are known as die breaks or cuds. These types of errors are sought after by collectors for their uniqueness. The 1989 S-proof quarter was made for collectors and not intended for circulation. If you find one in your pocket change, it likely slipped through the cracks. Proof coins have a mirror-like finish and sharper detail. A flawless example can sell for $5 to $10, and even higher if graded as perfect. Condition is king. A 1989 quarter in average circulated condition might not fetch more than face value, but in mint state, the story changes dramatically. Collectors use a grading scale called the Sheldon scale, ranging from 1 to 70. The higher the grade, the closer the coin is to perfect. Coins graded MS65 or higher, that's mint state 65, are the real deal. These coins have no wear, strong luster, and sharp details. In MS67 or higher, 1989 D or 1989 P Washington quarter can command hundreds of dollars at auction. And if the coin has a desirable error or variety, the price only climbs. What's the current market value of a 1989 quarter? Well, on average, a circulated 1989 quarter is still worth 25 cents. But coins in brilliant, uncirculated condition or those with rare errors can go for much more. Let's break it down. Average circulated, $0.25 uncirculated MS60, MS63, $1 to $1.10 MS65 and higher, $25 to $200 plus major error coins, $100 to over $1,000 proof 1989 S coins, $5 to $15, depending on grade. Now, here's the kicker. According to recent market estimates, the current potential value of a perfect condition or rare error 1989 quarter can reach up to $585.2119. Yes, you heard that right. Almost $600 for a coin you could have overlooked in a handful of change. The next time you hear that metallic clink of loose change in your pocket or dump a jar of coins onto your kitchen table, don't overlook the humble 1989 quarter. What looks like a simple piece of currency might just be a collector's dream. Inspect closely. Use a magnifying glass. Check for mint marks, errors, and luster. And if you think you've found something special, consult a coin dealer or get it graded. That 1/4 might just be your ticket to a nice little payday. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of valuable coins, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss another treasure hunting tip. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin, or if you're going to check your change after watching this video. We'd love to hear your story. Until next time, keep collecting, keep exploring, and keep your eyes on the coins. Because sometimes, history hides in plain sight. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because today, we're diving deep into the story of a humble little piece of American change, the 1994 United States $quarter. You might think it's just another coin rattling in your pocket, but wait until you hear how this seemingly ordinary quarter could be worth hundreds, even thousands, of dollars today. Yes, we're talking about the 1994 quarter, and believe it or not, some versions of this coin have skyrocketed in value due to rare minting errors, collector demand, and pristine condition. So don't go anywhere, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for in your spare change, and you just might walk away with a tiny fortune. Let's rewind to 1994. Bill Clinton was president. Forrest Gump was dominating the box office. And somewhere in the bustling United States mint facilities, millions of quarters were being struck with George Washington's proud profile. But among those millions, a few special coins were born, coins with anomalies, mistakes, or just so perfectly preserved that collectors today will pay a premium to own them. The standard 1994 quarter is made from a copper-nickel-clad composition, a sandwich of metals that gives it that familiar silvery shine. It weighs 5.67 grams and measures 24.26 millimeters in diameter. On the obverse, or front, we see the bold profile of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, a classic image that dates back to 1932, celebrating the bicentennial of Washington's birth. On the reverse, of course, we see the majestic American bald eagle, wings spread wide, gripping a bundle of arrows, perched on olive branches, symbols of both strength and peace. This design was used from 1932 all the way until the state quarter series began in 1999. But 1994 was right in that sweet spot, a few years before major design changes, but long enough ago for collectors to start getting serious about its value. Now, you may be asking, what makes the 1994 quarter special? Isn't it just common pocket change? Well, here's where it gets interesting. In total, over 1.5 billion 1994 quarters were minted. That includes coins from the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a P, and the Denver Mint, marked with a D. That's a lot of coins. So yes, most of them are common. But as any collector will tell you, it's not just about how many were made, it's about how they were made. Let's talk about errors and varieties, the secret sauce of coin collecting. Some 1994 quarters came out with double die obverse, where the letters "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" show subtle doubling under magnification. These errors are extremely popular with collectors and can sell for $50 to over $200, depending on the sharpness and condition. Then there are the off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't aligned properly during minting. If you have a 1994 quarter with a 5% to 20% off-center strike, especially if the date is still visible, you could be looking at $100 to $500 in collector value. One of the rarest and most valuable varieties is the 1994 P quarter with a reverse die crack or cud error. This is when a piece of the die breaks off, leaving a raised blob or ridge on the coin. These minting mishaps make the coin unique, and the more dramatic the error, the higher the value, some fetching $1,000 or more at auction. In fact, just last year, a 1994 D quarter in pristine MS-67 condition. That's mint state, nearly perfect, sold at auction for over $800. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that once bought a stick of gum is now worth almost $1,000, simply because it's rare, flawless, and desired by collectors. Now let's talk condition. If you have a 1994 quarter that's uncirculated, meaning it looks like it just left the mint yesterday, it could be worth far more than face value. The grading system, which ranges from poor, 1 to perfect mint state, 70, plays a huge role here. Most circulated coins are in the VF 20 to XF 40 range. That's very fine to extremely fine. But if you find an MS 65 or higher, especially with no scratches, perfect luster, and full details, you're sitting on something valuable. A certified MS66 1994 P quarter can sell for $150 to $250. And the ultra-rare MS67 Plus and MS68 coins? Those can command upwards of $500 to $1,200, depending on demand. And speaking of demand, the collector market is hotter than ever, thanks to online marketplaces, YouTube channels like this one, and social media collectors groups. More people are digging through their change, discovering forgotten treasures, and driving up the prices of rare coins. So that 1994 quarter in your drawer? It could be worth far more today than it was yesterday. As of the most recent data, the average market value for a high-grade 1994 quarter is about $0.5852119, based on collector interest and pricing charts. That might sound small, but remember, that's almost 60 cents for a coin you could have found under a couch cushion. And if you're lucky enough to find one of the rare varieties we mentioned earlier, you could multiply that value by 10, 100, or even 1,000 times. So what should you look for? Here's your treasure hunting checklist. Look for the mint mark, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver. Some mint marks are rarer than others. Examine the coin under magnification. Check for doubling on the lettering. Search for off-center strikes or strange raised bumps indicating die cracks. Check the condition. The shinier and sharper, the better. Consider having it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC if you believe it's in mint state condition. And here's a pro tip. If you're coin hunting, don't just check your change. Go through old coin jars, ask your relatives, or even buy rolls of quarters from the bank and search through them. It's a hobby that pays, sometimes literally. So there you have it. The 1994 United States quarter dollar, more than just pocket change. It's a tiny time capsule of American history, a symbol of craftsmanship, and for the lucky few, a valuable treasure hiding in plain sight. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want more deep dives into coin collecting, rare finds, and hidden gems in everyday life. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare quarter, or if you're about to start searching. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting.